Hello! So my name is Jenna Lawrence. I am a professor at Columbia. I've been teaching at Columbia in multiple departments, primarily the Department of Ecology, Evolution, and Environmental Biology, and for the Earth Institute in many capacities. And I have been teaching for the CU program. This will be my 11th time doing it, and the 9th summer that I have taught the Jordan program, which is by far my favorite class. So just to give you an overview, really all you need to know is we go to the most spectacular places. I mean, normally I'm all about managing expectations. I do not have to worry about this. I cannot oversell how spectacular the places we go are. So, just to start out, we assume zero previous science background in this course. It's really an introduction to ecology. What is ecology? What is biodiversity? We talk about ecology on land and in the sea. We also talk about some sustainable development issues and resource management issues in Jordan and the Middle East in general, because there are a few. Jordan is the third most water scarce country in the world, so that may come up a time or two. And so if you see in the next slide, the map of Jordan, we travel all around the country. We start out in Amman for a few days to kind of introduce you to the place, and then we visit various ecosystems, all pretty much the main ecosystems that Jordan has, which are more varied than you would think. They actually have about 1% of the country is forest. So we start out up in the north in Ajloun, and then we travel down to the most spectacular place, Dana National Park, and we're there for a few days, and then we kind of switch gears and we go from terrestrial ecology to marine ecology down in Aqaba on the Red Sea, and we're there for about 2 weeks, and then we'll head up to spend 2 nights on the Dead Sea, which, I mean, really, all these places are spectacular, but that's kind of my personal favorite. And then we'll spend 1 night in Madaba, which was a historical Christian center, and we'll do a little sightseeing there, and you can do last-minute work on your research project. And then back in Amman for the PowerPoint presentations, and I'll go through the daily schedule in a second. But back to, so the next slide, back these pictures, so all the photos in my part of the presentation are photos I have taken, and really I keep improving my camera every year, so I really, well, you'll see the pictures, and I'm pretty proud of them because, again, spectacular places. So in the forests of Ajloun, this is our best chance to actually see some biodiversity of mammals. I'll admit I have a degree in monkeys, so mammals are closest to my heart, but we do cover all biodiversity, birds and plants as well, and some lizards and insects. And so you can see in the lower right-hand corner, this is where we have our big hike in the forest, and up in the top, so excited the last time we were there, we got to see jackals. And then in the lower left-hand corner, even cuter, a little hedgehog. So we start out there, and then when we go down, you can see the next slide. This is the marine ecology part. This is also a picture from the course. This is where I'll introduce you to marine conservation and marine ecology, and it's amazing because the reefs are very close to the shore and shallow, so you can see everything by just snorkeling, walking off the beach. And if you're wondering where we're staying, because I will say in Ajloun and in Dana and on the Dead Sea, we stay in ecotourism lodges, and we can talk about ecotourism issues as well. But next slide, when we're in Aqaba, we will be staying in a resort. So we give you a little bit of everything as part of CU Jordan. And then, so next slide, we will again start out in Amman, in the capital. There you see some students taking pictures of Roman ruins and other ancient ruins that we will visit. And then next slide. So the ecotourism lodges are run by the Royal Society for the Conservation of Nature, which is a wonderful quasi-governmental organization that does outreach and ecological research and ecotourism, and we'll be talking about that as well. But it is so spectacular. Here we have one of our students looking for ibex and hyrax and other adorable biodiversity that well, let's be honest, we probably won't see, but we might, and regardless, just the views and the vegetation, and we can do bird censuses there. It's really spectacular, but when I talk about raising your expectations high enough, next slide, This is the view from your rooms. This is from the balcony of the Dana Ecotourism Lodge where we stay. And this pictures do not do it justice. I cannot oversell how amazing it's going to be when you get out of the bus and see this. So next slide. So you see that we'll be doing cultural activities. We will, of course, be spending a full day in Petra and talking about the sustainability issues of Petra, but really just marveling, spending the whole day marveling. It's one of those places that looks exactly like it's supposed to, and you can get your Facebook profile pictures or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the kids are doing these days. And then in the lower left-hand corner, you see a puffer fish and a little patch of coral reef that is, again, right off the beach from where we'll be staying. And then next picture, we will also spend an afternoon and an evening in Wadi Rum, where Lawrence of Arabia was shot, and The Martian, and it is one of the most spectacular places in Jordan. I know I'm overusing that word, but we will also have a traditional Bedouin dinner there that night. And next slide, you can get some more social media profile pictures. That's a picture I took of a student. But really, my personal favorite is when we go to the Dead Sea. Next slide, and we each have these little chalets. And by each, I mean you are going to, of course, have roommates between 2 and 3, between 1 and 3 roommates. So 2 to 4 to a room, but it's with shared bathrooms, and there'll be some measure of roughing it. But I mean, come on. When that's your view, you will not mind. And next slide, this shows a picture of the chalet at sunset, so we'll have 2 wonderful nights there. Next slide, you can get some more social media photos. Next slide, we'll also spend an afternoon at the Jordan River, and this right here, this blows my mind. This is the most chill, fraught international border I've ever visited. You are looking, the near side is Jordan. The far side, which is not that far away, is Israel. And so we will talk about all sorts of issues regarding that and resource use of the Jordan River and in general and what's happened to that. And then last slide, this is back at Wadi Rum. We can have fun with all sorts of photos. But so just to give you a rundown of what the course is going to be like in the morning, and I'll be honest, I'm not a morning person, so mornings start at 10. Will be about 3 hours of lecture, again, introducing you to ecology and the biodiversity of each area we go to. And then in the afternoon, there'll be some kind of activity, whether it's a hike or learning a field method like a bird census, or doing a cultural or historical activity, or how to make graphs, how to use Excel. And then the next day, generally, there'll be a half-hour quiz, 5 questions, nothing tricky, just memorizing. And this is a biology class, so there is a lot of memorizing, so be prepared for that. And that will be half the grade, will be the average of your quiz scores. And then the other half of the grade will be the individual research projects. And this can be whatever excites you. I challenge you to bring me something you're passionate about that we can't help you turn into an individual research project. And those projects generally take 2 forms, either a traditional field-based project where you come up with a hypothesis, you see some pattern in the natural world and find a way to test it and then analyze those data and then present a PowerPoint presentation. And again, we assume 0 previous academic, scientific background, so we'll really walk you through, we'll help shepherd you through every stage of doing this project. And because we will be spending the most time, almost 2 weeks, in Aqaba on the Red Sea, those field projects tend to be marine-based. So examples of that, we've had people look at coral reef health, relating that with development that's happening in the region, which is a whole other issue we'll talk about, looking at invertebrate and coral reef health in big versus small reef patches, for example, looking at water quality in general, looking at abundance and diversity of reef fish, or if you're interested in particular fish species, we've had people look at the hunting behavior of lionfish, for example, or the adorable mutualism between clownfish and anemones, or looking at habitat preferences of all sorts of really cool life forms that we have, like sea cucumbers and urchins and Christmas tree worms. We also have seagrass communities you can investigate. Also, we've had people do behavioral research on tourists, like looking at how tourists are interacting with the marine life. And the other track is a literature-based project where you And people, especially who are interested in more sustainable development issues, will often take that. And really, that can be any issue about Jordan and the intersection of the science and the natural and the human systems. And so examples of that have been people looking at the sustainability of water use in agriculture. Spoiler, it's not so sustainable. Looking at, for example, practical diplomacy between Israel and Jordan over using the water resources of the Jordan River, for example. Looking at problems and solutions of the fact that the Dead Sea is shrinking away. You can look at why juniper trees are dying. Or we've had people look at the ecological footprint of the film industry, looking at green architecture, the possibilities of dry sanitation in refugee camps, looking at renewable energy, solar, wind, biofuel, all sorts of things. Issues in ecotourism, for example, looking at sustainability issues of the Bedouin communities and goat grazing in protected areas. And we've also had people look at the intersection of gender and resource conservation. So really anything you're excited about, that can be a literature-based project where you will look at resources online, maybe be able to do some interviews. And again, everyone will be doing a formal written research proposal. That will be half of that grade, and the other half of the grade then will be the PowerPoint presentation on the last day. And again, we walk you through every step of the way that the TA and I do. So let's see. So I think that's about it. Also to reassure your parents, because it usually comes up that the media makes it sound like that corner of the world is a little dangerous. We have never had any problems. There's never even been a whiff of danger in all those years. And we work very closely with the Global Center in Amman that always has its finger on the pulse of what's going on. And to be honest, how I look at it is there's no more risk-averse institution than Columbia. So if Columbia lets this go, then you can be absolutely sure that there is going to be no problem. And Kelsey can tell you about all the contingencies that are in place should something happen. But again, nothing ever has, and we have always had the best time. And it is intense. I mean, it's 4 weeks, 6 credits, just like all of these programs. But it's we really have it down. We have it down. So your days will be full, but completely manageable. And again, you'll be in the most spectacular places. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact me, and I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.